This place is abuzz. Those that dared the streets today are happy to be here, and we're happy to have you too. Welcome all. Both those who've been coming for a long time, a short while, or today for the first time. And Zoomers, hi, say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
You are missed here in person, but we're happy you're with us on Zoom. I have the honor of doing all the housekeeping, all the announcements. So to start with, if we could, please, our board greeter is Luke Walzewski. Stand up and wave. There he is, back in the back. Please be sure you sign up at the guest book in the back, and he is here to help you out. If you, come on up, Luke. If you have any questions, he'd be happy to show you around the building. And he has a little something he would like to say.
Good morning, everybody. You may have noticed when you walked in, you probably got 2 sheets of paper. The second one is about the Kroger Community Rewards Instructions. So Kroger has a great program where it doesn't cost you anything. You have to, when you have to log into your account, you can link your shopper's card that you use to get the sales and the discounts and stuff, and you can link it to a charity of your choice. And you can go in, link your account to Heritage, and then anytime you buy something at Kroger, a very small amount of money will be donated. But if a whole bunch of us sign up for this, it can actually end up being a pretty substantial amount of money. So take this home, follow the instructions when you have a chance to sit down on your computer, and then you have to do it one time, and then you don't have to do anything else different. Just go to Kroger, shop, just make sure you scan your card every time. I'm also going to send these to Antonio, and he's going to put it up on the website as well. So those of you on Zoom, or if you lose the sheet of paper, we'll have it on the site as well. So please do this, help out the church. It literally costs you nothing, and it just takes a few minutes of your time. If they need help, talk to me. Antonio works at Kroger too, and he maybe designed this whole thing. I don't know. So, but talk to me, and I'd be happy to help you. You know, in case you're feeling like it's overwhelming or you're not tech savvy, so I'm happy to help.
And you do it one time, and that's it.
Just do it one time, and then until you decide to change it, you know, you're helping out Heritage. So that's it. Thank you. That you can go into settings, into the settings in Kroger, and you can like when you log into your account, there's like different options, and one of them is to change your alternate ID.
Okay, great. Thank you, Luke. I'll be calling you because I am terrible at that type of thing. Okay. I would also, at this time, like to ask you to silence or turn off your phones so that there's no interference with the mic here. And then there are a few special announcements. First of all, there is a Martin Luther King Day March. It is the 49th Annual Freedom March. It begins at the Freedom Center at 10:30. Apparently there will be a bus for those of you who think it's too cold or can't walk the distance. Fine with me, I would be on that. And then at 12:30, there will be, at 12, thank you, Louise, Martin Luther King Day Beloved Community Celebration in Music Hall. It is free, it's open to the public, and if you're like me and have a wonderful memory that forgets everything, there are postcards out there on the one of the credenzas, so pick one up if you need. We do have some members of our choir that will be singing. Yeah, see a few. They've been doing it for quite a while. I speak wonderfully of the organization. Okay, and then I would like to invite you all to our potluck in the Great Hall afterwards. We've got a nice small group here, and it looks like everybody was busy bringing things in. It looks really good, folks. So be sure you stick around, and you have some. While you're there, we have Kate and Juliet and Crosley, and I believe and they will be selling Girl Scout cookies during the potluck. So be sure to nab them if you want some. And then, last but not least, I wanted to let you know who Today is a partial gang of worshipers, associates, whatever. It's not just me, it's also Steph Tacey. We have Jen Ciolino, and Antonio has joined us this time, and he is now here for an intro of our opening words.
All right. Good morning. My name is Antonio Ciolino, and I'm a member here at Heritage. Today, as we gather in the spirit of unity, we honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. We remember his dream, a dream that believed in equality, justice, and harmony. A dream where the content of one's character eclipses the color of one's skin, where freedom and justice are not just ideals, but realities for all people. His dream, like a guiding star in our night sky, illuminates the path toward a greater equity and justice. In every corner of our nation, in the heart of our state, and within the streets of our city, this dream persistently challenges us. It's a dream deeply anchored not in distant horizons, but in the here and now, in the daily actions and choices of each of us. Dr. King envisioned a world where we are crucial threads in a fabric of society, a fabric woven with the threads of love, justice, and mutual respect, binding us together in a tapestry of shared destiny and collective strength. We're compelled to confront stark contrasts, the deep divides between our Black and white communities. We're called not to merely witness these chasms from afar, but actively and purposely bridge them, and the strength of our courage and the steel of our conviction. Not as onlookers from distant shores, but as builders at the center, creating a future of equity and understanding with the very ground beneath our feet. Today, let us engage with this dream. Let us acknowledge the progress we've made, and yet confront the work that remains. Let us be open to hearing the experiences of disparity and inequality, and step forward to be the architects of change and the bearers of hope. May it inspire us not only to dream of equality and justice, but actively build it in our communities, in our conversations, and in our actions. Thank you for being here and for being a part of this journey. Together, let's honor Dr. King's not just in word, but in deed, by living out his dream in our lives every single day. Come, let us worship. Now, please let us rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, One More Step. Please remain standing after the hymn for the reading of our covenant. this covenant, we affirm that love is the spirit of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus we covenant with each other and with God.
Good morning. My name is Jen Ciolino. I'm a member here at Heritage, and I'm Antonio's wife. For those new to our church, the sharing of our abundance is a tradition here at Heritage where we take up a collection not for our church, but to support an organization that helps others in alignment to our principles and values. Today's recipient is the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio. The League's mission is to help Black people and historically underserved communities achieve their highest true social parity, economic self-reliance, power, civil rights, and justice. The League is committed to economic empowerment by helping individuals, families, and businesses achieve generational wealth through workforce development and entrepreneurial growth. The League is also committed to community empowerment and to fighting for social change in Southwestern Ohio to improve the quality of life for all people. When our family first moved to Cincinnati in 2017, one of our first observations was that this was the most segregated city we had ever experienced. We lived in Chicago for many years. We have visited New York, Los Angeles, San Antonio, Des Moines, Redmond, San Diego, Pittsburgh, Phoenix, Atlanta, Dallas, Savannah, and many others. In Cincinnati, we started visiting breweries, restaurants, theaters, and other attractions in the city to enjoy all it has to offer. Our experiences were uncomfortable. In one of the breweries, we were greeted with unfriendly, curious stares by other patrons. Now, my husband was not the only Black person in the establishment, but he was the only Black customer. That palpable discomfort creates a self-reinforcing segregation. We don't return because we don't want to have that experience. In 2014, the National Urban League ranked Cincinnati 73rd out of 77 cities comparing median household income for whites and African Americans. In 2015, the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio produced a report called The State of Black Cincinnati. The measures in that report confirmed our suspicions based on what we could see walking street by street, going into businesses, and seeing people react to us. It helped me realize there is still so much work to do to bring about racial justice right here in our own community. As we celebrate the legacy of Dr. King, I encourage you to support organizations that are dedicated to the work of making his dream a reality. The offering will now be thankfully received. Your generosity is deeply appreciated. Now, we have some really fun activities planned for the kids today in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For the kids that are here in the room, I'm curious, do you know who Dr. King is? You do? You want to tell me? Civil rights leader? Anyone else want to tell me anything they know about Dr. King? A minister? So, in my attempt to describe it to our youngsters, what I offer is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a very important leader who helped people understand that everyone should be treated equally, no matter the color of their skin. He gave speeches, he led peaceful marches to show that all people deserve to be treated kindly and fairly. He had a famous speech called "I Have a Dream," where he talked about his hope for a world where everyone could be friends and live together happily. He taught us that using love and peaceful actions is the best way to make the world a better place for everyone. So today we have a video of a book being read called Be a King. It might give you some ideas about ways you can make the world a better place for everyone.
Be a King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Dream in You, written by Carol Boston Weatherford and illustrated by James E. Ransom. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know about Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Martin Luther King Jr. You can be a king, marvel at creation, keep the faith of your ancestors. You can be a king, know that bigotry hurts, remember how you felt when treated unfairly. You can be a king, admit that you've done wrong, just say, I'm sorry, and mean it. You can be a king, know that dividing walls should come down. You have glimpsed the other side. You can be a king, break the chains of ignorance, learn as much as you can. You can be a king, stand for peace, band together against bullies. You can be a king, sing a song of freedom, keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. You can be a king, stamp out hatred, put your foot down and walk tall. You can be a king, answer your critics, believe in your cause and state it plainly. You can be a king, have a dream, make yours great enough to grow into. You can be a king, make the world take notice, do your very best at whatever you do. You can be a king, beat the drum for justice, march to your own conscience. You can be a king, lift up the less fortunate, be the king or queen of help. You can be a king, set your sights on the mountaintop, climb a little higher every day.
Invited to move from the sanctuary to our religious exploration activities for today. As they move to these activities, we will sing the hymn, As We Leave This Friendly Place, with lyrics adapted by Steph Tacey.
You know, as I was watching the kids leave, I couldn't help thinking, our children, the future, they sure are the light of our lives. And we are connected to them through love. That connection provides them and us with a bond that lays the foundation of belonging, acceptance, and encouragement to be all that we can be. This is the strength of family, of community, whether small or large. As we continue to the reading that's next in our order of service, I'd like to ask you to take part in it. So after I read the beginning of each line, please join me in saying, "We are connected." Despite distance and fear, we are connected. Despite loneliness and change, we are connected. Across different experiences and lives, we are connected. Even in the face of the inevitable losses of life, we are connected. When we wish to laugh, we are connected. When we need to mourn, we are connected. Across a nation divided, we are connected. Even when we dance alone in a room, we are connected. In the heat of the sun, we are connected. In the glow of the stars, we are connected. Across the limits of our imagination, we are connected. Even when nature trembles, we are connected. And I say, amen to connection. We feel this connection strongly when we gather in community, being here for each other. This is the time in our service when we connect deeply by reaching out to our loving community to encourage us as we realize our dreams, embrace us during difficult times, and join us in celebrating our joys. First, I'll read the candle request that was emailed prior to the service, and then everyone in the sanctuary will be invited to share their joy or sorrow up front. The chat in Zoom is open for anyone live streaming to offer their joy or sorrow, and I'll read them after everyone in the sanctuary has shared theirs. Kay will light a candle on the altar for each joy or sorrow. Please know that you are always welcome to have her light a candle for you in silence. And our birthday jar, voila, is available for all kinds of anniversaries as well. Our only emailed candle request. And we light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that are held silently in our hearts, yet still need our love. And now, if you will stand as you are willing and able, and join us in singing hymn. It's in our teal hymnal, so you all won't have it, but it's "When Our Heart is in a Holy Place," and the words are up on the screen.
When
This reading is called In Honor by Amanda Schuber. In honor of risk takers, those that hold the vision with clarity and charge forward with optimism, even in the face of others' doubts. You are our lamplighters and our guides. May you never forget the courage it takes to lead the way forward. In honor of the cautious skeptics, those that gather the information needed to navigate the tumultuous waters of change. You are the map makers and the preparers of the stores. May we appreciate your attention to the details that keep us on course. In honor of the doubters, those that may fear the changing tide of our turbulent world, you are our anchors and remind us of where we have been and where we are as a community now. May we relish your commitment to our history and your passion for who we have become. In honor of the dreamers, those that imagine what we can be and to and in this world. You are the wind that blows the sails of change, pushing us forever forward. May we reveal always in your whimsy and hope that dares us to never stop becoming. May the work we do together strengthen our community and our world. May we heed the call to always hold the vision of the free church ever in our sight and to work towards justice. Together, we wield a powerful spirit that is strengthened by the gifts of all.
We as a nation have a great deal to be thankful for. Jimmy Lee Jackson, whose death inspired the Selma March, along with so many others, did not make to see this day. But you and I are here. We can bear witness to the distance we have come and the progress we have made in 50 years, and we must use this moment to recommit ourselves to do all we can to finish the work. There's still work left to be done. Get out there and push and pull until we redeem the soul of America. People often ask me, why do you come back? What purpose does it serve? We come to Selma to be renewed. We come to be inspired. We come to be reminded that we must do the work that justice and equality calls us to do. On March 7, 1965, a few innocent children of God, some carrying only a bedroll, a few clutching a simple bag, a plain purse or a backpack, were inspired to walk 50 dangerous miles from Selma to Montgomery to demonstrate the need for voting rights in the state of Alabama. On that day, 600 people marched into history, walking 2 by 2 down the sidewalk, not interfering with the free flow of trade and commerce, not interfering with traffic, with the kind of military discipline. We were so peaceful, so quiet, no one saying a word. We were beaten, tear gas. Some of us was left bloody right here on this bridge. 17 of us were hospitalized that day. But we never became bitter or hostile. We kept believing that the truth we stood for would have the final say. This city, on the banks of the Alabama River, gave birth to a movement that changed this nation forever. Our country will never, ever be the same because of what happened on this bridge.
I want to start my reflection this morning reading just a couple of short excerpts from Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. The first excerpt: I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feels that he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a, quote, more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had also hoped the white moderate would reject the myth of time. I received a letter this morning from a white brother in Texas which said, all Christians know that the colored people will receive equal rights eventually, but is it possible that you're in too great of a religious hurry? It has taken Christianity almost 2,000 years to accomplish what it has. The teachings of Christ take time to come to earth. All that is said here grows out of a tragic misconception of time. It is the strangely irrational notion that there is something in the very flow of time that will inevitably cure all ills. Actually, time is neutral. It can be used either destructively or constructively. I am coming to feel that the people of ill will have used time much more effectively than the people of goodwill. We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. We must come to see that human progress never rolls on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and persistent work of men willing to be co-workers with God, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the forces of social stagnation. As you entered the sanctuary this morning, as we got ready to begin our worship service today, there was a musical performance playing on the video, and it was a song called Letter to the Free by Common. The song was released in 2016, and what you saw was a performance of it at the White House in 2021. I just want to read to you, because some of you may have not had an opportunity to really listen, the beginning parts of the lyrics, not the whole song. Southern leaves, southern trees we hung from, barren souls, heroic songs unsung. Forgive them, Father, they know this knot is undone. Tied with the rope that my grandmother died. Pride of the pilgrims affect lives of millions since slaves' days separating fathers from children. Institution ain't just a building. but a method of having black and brown bodies fill them. We ain't seen as human beings with feelings. Will the U.S. ever be us, Lord willing? For now we know the new Jim Crow. They stop, search, and arrest our souls. Police and policies patrol philosophies of control, a cruel hand taking hold. We let go to free them so we can free us. America's moment to come to Jesus. I really struggled preparing today's reflection. Sorry, those are really powerful words. I struggled because I want to joyfully celebrate Dr. King's birthday, and I want to honor him and his legacy. But honestly, I'm angry. Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech was almost 61 years ago. The Civil Rights Act was passed 60 years ago. But right here in Cincinnati, the long shadow of racism, segregation, and Jim Crow laws still cast a pall over the dream of true freedom and equality. As John Lewis said, there is still work to be done. It's easy to see how a neo-Nazi or a Klansman is a racist. It's harder to see how everyday people in everyday interactions perpetuate racism in ways that maintain the chasm between inequality and equality. It's easy to feel outraged for those who have suffered violence at the hands of police in cities like Minneapolis, an environment with systemic issues that allowed George Floyd's death to happen. It's hard to look in our own neighborhoods, workplaces, and yes, even churches, with a critical eye to see if we play a role in the continued inequality. At my last church, also a UU church, I had mentioned to another member we needed to do more to bridge with the Black community. Her response was, well, we give them money, they like money. I mentioned during the sharing of our abundance the palpable discomfort my husband and I experienced in a local establishment. As someone committed to racial justice, I struggled with the idea of not returning, of not pushing back on the stares, on our desire to have the presence of people like my husband be normalized. But at whose expense? It was our date night, and we just wanted to have a good time, not have to do the work to create a space where we could be made to feel welcomed. The experience we had was not overt. No one told my husband he didn't belong there. No one told me I was betraying the race, something I have been told. Instead, it showed up in the perfunctory way the wait staff interacted with us and the way the people around us stared. It showed up, too, in the fact that the only other Black people in the establishment were staff. If we were to reach out to the management of the establishment and share that our experience was unpleasant, we might hear, the management and staff aren't responsible for the unfriendly demeanor of the customers toward us. We might be asked, what exactly did the wait staff do that was a problem? They might recoil at the idea that perfunctory at our table while friendly at the next table might be attributed to my husband's race. They might cite the fact that they have staff, Black people on their staff, to prove they don't have a race issue. They might say it's not our fault that most of our customers are white. That doesn't mean we're racist. Maybe all of that's true, but it doesn't mean we're comfortable going back. The recent news cycles, we see the dismantling of efforts to help Black Americans receive opportunities they might not otherwise receive. Opportunities typically much more available to white Americans. One example is the abolition of affirmative action in higher education by the Supreme Court. I certainly can understand why affirmative action is controversial. It's a policy offering advantage to one group over another. What I see as naive, however, is the idea that affirmative action exists in a vacuum, and therefore that makes it unfair. K through 12 educational opportunities for predominantly Black communities are not equal to the opportunities in predominantly white communities. So what other mechanisms have we offered to level the playing field? My family was recently party to a civil rights lawsuit against our local school board after they passed a culture of kindness resolution. Part of that resolution stated that the schools, including any guest speakers, could not ask students to reflect on their identities based on race, socioeconomic class, religion, gender identity, sex, sexual preference, ethnicity, or culture. Parents supporting the resolution told stories of how their children came home feeling uncomfortable after learning about racism in America. They complained that the lessons were making white children feel guilty for being white. One of our children, while in an elementary school, had an assignment, was the one who lit the chalice today, had an assignment to tell a story about something in their family's history that had a big impact. In a district where only about 2% of students are Black, our history on Antonio's side of the family might have been one such situation. The story is about how his mother and his father had to flee Mississippi in the middle of the night with only what they could fit in their car because they were going to be lynched. They landed in Chicago with almost nothing. No one else in the class had a family history like that. But lessons that talk about how those experiences have generational implications, lessons about racism, are now themselves being labeled as racist, as causing division rather than understanding. My son Ren, who right now is helping with the children in RE, something he very much loves to do, went out for ice cream with his sister when he was 10. My oldest daughter is from a previous marriage and is white. At the time, she was 22. She was joking around with Ren and told him to loosen up. Ren, at just 10 years old, told his sister he can't joke around like her in public places because he's Black and people will look at him differently than her. He was 10 years old and already his lived experience told him he had to be cautious in white spaces. But under that resolution, his lived experience is considered a controversial topic, a topic of reflecting on how his identity is shaped by his race and how others see him. So I stand here before you today with lots of stories, experiences, and learning about racism and how it continues to permeate our society, how the progress since Dr. King is so slow and so fraught with the denial of the reality of racism and fraught with the resistance to changing it. I am standing before you in our spiritual home. This is our sanctuary, or is it? Our family most definitely feels embraced and loved by this faith community, and it is our spiritual home. And on this year's recognition of Dr. King, I feel compelled to challenge our beloved community. I trust that this community values the inherent worth and dignity of all people. I trust that this community wants to see that manifest in our society. Are we doing our part? As the mom of a transgender youth, I've had a lot of learning in the language necessary to talk about his identity. Words and phrases like gender dysphoria, gender identity, gender expression, dead naming, non-binary, cisgender. I didn't used to need these words because I was unaware of transgender people. In fact, I used to have quite negative words associated with trans or non-binary people. Words like he, she, or transvestite. I learned new language so I could understand, have conversations, and support my child's journey. Racial justice language is similar. In order to understand racism in our society, I have to understand the language of justice. I have to listen, and I have to believe the lived experience of Black people. One particularly difficult term to consider is the term white supremacy culture. When hearing that term, one might hear a linkage to white supremacists like those neo-Nazis or Klansmen. The reality is the term is used to describe something much more nuanced and complex. It refers to the historical foundation of many of our cultural norms and practices. It can also mean the attribution of some practices as neutral, thereby elevating those practices of better. This behavior isn't unique to racism. For example, in America, I've known people from the South who were treated like they were less intelligent because of their Southern drawl. A more Midwestern accent is often considered to be more neutral, and some folks even claim not to have an accent. One cultural norm within our own faith that I've observed has to do with our music. A majority of our hymns come from traditional Christian hymns, folk music, and classical music, which predominantly originate from white European contexts. Some might cite this example as an example of white supremacy culture embedded in our faith. Some might dispute that example. Either way, if we are to work from where we are to achieve Dr. King's dream, we have a responsibility to consider our traditions and our norms. Are we unintentionally creating an environment that is palpably uncomfortable for people we value? Yesterday, while we're preparing this reflection, I went to that establishment's Yelp reviews, the one I talked about that we visited in 2017. It had 226 pictures, and about 30% of those pictures had people in them. I poured through every single one of them and found one picture that had a black person, and he was in an apron behind the counter. It's been almost 7 years, and nothing has changed. I feel compelled to ask you to reflect on whether this community lives its principles with regard to racial justice, and what are we doing to change? What are we willing to do to change? Is this community willing to be uncomfortable? Is this community willing to have different voices shape its future? Is this community willing to look at its own practices and norms through the lens of racial justice? Is this community willing to take ownership of creating a welcoming environment for all who might come through our doors? As we explore these reflections, let us do so with open hearts and minds, ready to learn, to understand, and to act. For the journey towards racial justice is not a solitary endeavor. It's a path we walk together as a community, as a nation, and as humanity. As we mark MLK Day, let us honor Dr. King's legacy, not just in words, but in action, reflecting his vision in our community's hearts and deeds. Let us not only acknowledge, but actively confront and dismantle the barriers of inequality, including in our own hearts. It's in our commitment to the everyday acts of understanding and empathy that we truly celebrate Dr. King's dream. Let's continue to nurture a space where all are welcome, where diversity is not just respected, but celebrated and cherished. There is still work to be done, my friends.
If everyone would join hands in a circle around the sanctuary. As we conclude today, let us reflect on our journey, inspired by Dr. King's messages of justice, equality, and love, which call us to action. Embracing understanding, empathy, and an unwavering resolve, let us leave with a renewed commitment to live out these values in every interaction, every decision, every moment of our lives. Remembering Dr. King's words, the time is always right to do what is right. Please join me in our benediction. The word behind me. May the spirit of life that each of us possesses flow from one to the other. May it stay with us and bring us peace and harmony until we meet again.